which are capable of sensing, computing and doing communication. They generally monitor the physical environment, gather and relay the information about it to the sink. So computation power, battery lifetime, data storage and communication bandwidth are some of the factors that affects the performances and reduces the efficiency of wireless sensor network. Now, the basic issue that one needs to be aware of while handling the wireless sensor network is the energy consumption. Now, energy is consumed by the several tasks, but the important energy consumer is the communication module. And the sensors in case of wireless sensor network, they are battery operated devices. And once the sensors, they are deployed in the network, both the sensors as well as the entire network, it remains unattended. And since the sensors, they are battery operated devices, therefore they have limited resources like memory, processing, energy and power. And also it is impossible or impractical to recharge or replace the sensor batteries, and therefore the energy needs to be spared so that your network performs for a longer duration of period. Now, as a result of the limited energy supply for the sensors, extending the lifetime of WSN is a primary target for the significant amount of research that is going on during the last couple of years. Moreover, the radio transmission range of the sensors, it is typically of the order of magnitude which is much smaller than the geographical extent of the entire network. So the data must be relayed towards the sink hop by hop in a multi-hop manner. Now in smaller network, the sensors can send their data directly to the sink, but in case of larger network, multi-hop transmission is used wherein sensors forward each other data towards the sink. Now, initially in case of wireless sensor network, a fixed single sink was deployed in the network. By doing so, the sensors nearer to the sink, they had to take the heavy traffic load, and because of this, they would deplete their energy faster. So, an improvement over this was to deploy multiple sinks in case of WSN. By doing so, the load was evenly distributed among all the sinks, and also it was decreasing the average number of hops which the message has to pass through before being received and processed by the sink. But this was resulting in an unbalanced sensing coverage over different parts of the network. Now, so an improvement over this was to work on the repositioning or the relocation of the sink, that is to make use of a mobile sink. Now, energy consumption, it depends upon the communication distance. And communication distance can be reduced in many ways, and one such way is to make use of a mobile sink which has the capability to move around inside the monitored region and collect the data from the sensors it passes by. Now, the main objective of the sink repositioning is to solve the problem that arises due to energy hole problem and multi-hop transmission. Now, the main reason for the energy hole problem is that in a multi-hop environment, some sensors, they have to relay a lot of traffic for the other sensors. And also multi-hop transmission, it results in an unbalanced energy expenditure over different parts of the network. So by repositioning or relocating the sink to an area of heavy traffic or closely to the heavily loaded row would decrease the total transmission power, hence less energy would be consumed for communication, thereby resulting a significant amount in the energy saving. So obviously what will happen is that this would increase the life of the sensors on the path of the heavy traffic, and obviously the lifetime of the network would be increased. Now, repositioning or relocating the sink during regular network operation is very challenging. The basic issues are when and where the sink should be repositioned and how the data traffic would be handled during its movement. Now, finding an optimal location for a sink in a multi-hop environment is a very complex problem, and the complexity mainly arises from the three factors. First of all, there are potentially infinite number of positions where the sink can be moved to, and secondly, for every interim solution considered, a new multi-hop network topology needs to be established in order to qualify this interim solution in comparison to the currently or the previously picked location in search. And thirdly, the repositioning problem is substantially compounded when the network consists of multiple clusters, because the sink cannot choose to simply arbitrarily wander around the cluster simply in order to enhance the intra-network cluster operation without considering the potential impact it could inflict on its ability in order to maintain the communication with the sink of another cluster. And moreover, the sink must ensure that no data is lost during its movement. So keeping all this point in mind, the main objective of our research was to develop a hybrid sync repositioning technique for data gathering purpose in case of wireless sensor network, which would try to avoid the energy hold problem. Moreover, in our technique, we are making use of a static sync and mobile sync for data gathering purpose without causing the buffer overflow problem. Moreover, the relay sensors, they are selected based upon their residual energy, and the research work mainly focuses in devising a technique which would take the benefits of both multiple sync and sync repositioning in order to improve the energy efficiency and the various performance metrics of the network. And definitely it is going to extend the lifetime of the network. Now, moving on to the literature survey and the related work. Now, in the very first paper, the author had investigated the potential of sync repositioning for enhanced network performance. They had addressed the issues like when and where the sync should be relocated and how the data traffic would be handled during its movement. And for this, they had presented a relocation algorithm which finds out the new location of the sync for optimized energy consumption. And then their relocation algorithm they compared with a fixed gateway scheme. And they found that relocating the sync was improving the energy efficiency and the various performance metrics of the network. In their paper, they had just deployed a single sync. Then moving on to the next paper, the author had proposed a mobile base station placement scheme for increasing the lifetime of the network. And here in this paper, they had addressed the issues of uneven energy consumption which was resulting from the multi-hop communication. Now, in their scheme, they had divided the lifetime of the network into different rounds, and the base station was moved to a new location at the beginning of each round. And then they had formulated the problem as an ILP, and then they had made use of an ILP solver in order to find out the near optimal location of the base station. And basically here the main aim was to maximize the minimum residual energy at the end of each round. And in this case, the authors, they had deployed multiple mobile syncs. Now moving on to the next paper. In the next paper, the authors, they argued that sync repositioning cannot be pursued without considering the potential impact it could inflict on its ability in order to maintain the communication with the sync of another cluster. And for this, they had presented an efficient algorithm known as SCORE for the coordinated relocation of the sync. And this algorithm strives hard in order to maintain the communication with the sync of another cluster when it is moving in order to better manage the sensors in their vicinity. Then in the next paper, again the author's main concern was to save the energy of the sensors and to extend the network lifetime. Here they had presented a dynamic optimum method for the base station repositioning, wherein they had employed the genetic algorithm for solving the base station repositioning problem. And this algorithm, in this algorithm, they had made use of the energy and the distance parameter in order to find out the optimized base station position. Then moving on to the next paper. In the next paper, the author, they had proposed an algorithm which applies the slot reuse concept in order to achieve the reduction in the TDMA frame length, wherein a slot which is already assigned to a link can be reused by another link provided that the interference between the two links is below a specified threshold. Okay. So in this paper, what they had done, first of all, they had calculated the number of time slots required for the various links in the network and by the virtual link in the cluster. And while allotting the time slot, they had allotted the time slot first to the virtual link of a cluster and then to the outgoing links in the network. Then moving on to the next paper, here the author, they had proposed a new TDMA based scheduling algorithm which works on the node congestion. And in this algorithm, they had divided this algorithm in two steps. One was coloring the network and the other one was scheduling the network. Now scheduling the network is obtained by coloring the network, and coloring the network is accomplished by based on the degree of congestion of the nodes. Now any two nodes which conflict with each other, they are assigned a different color. And during scheduling, the care is taken that the same time slot is not allotted to these sensors. Then moving on to the next paper. Here the author, they had presented a more basic range-based localization technique using GPS, wherein a satellite is used in conjunction with the ground stations for providing the positioning services to the ground sensors. But this technique, it was very expensive because attaching a GPS receiver to each and every sensor would be very difficult because of the large volume of the sensors. And moreover, it was observed through the result that it was resulting in a large amount of positioning error also. And because of this, there was an urgent need to develop the cost-effective and efficient localization algorithm for WSN. Now, moving on to the next paper. Here, in the next paper, the author had proposed a range-based localization method wherein the location of a sensor is estimated with respect to the other sensors in the network. Here the author, they had employed a RSSI technique, which is a received signal strength indicator technique, wherein the sensor will make use of the received signal strength and the path loss pattern in order to find out the distance between them and their neighboring sensor, and from this distance then the position is estimated. But again, the weak point of this method was that it was highly sensitive to environmental conditions like obstacles, noises, and because of all this reason, it was resulting in a large amount of, again, localization error. Now in the next paper, the authors, they had proposed a distributed hop by hop, in short they call it as DV hop algorithm, again wherein the sensor, they estimate their location with respect to the other sensors. But in their algorithm, some sensors with a known location, they were deployed in the network, and each sensor, they keep a hop count value, track of their hop count value to this sensor. Then what happens is that the average hop distance is calculated, and this average hop distance is also broadcasted. Okay, though this method, it was very easy, very simple, very useful also. It was giving good estimation, position estimation also, but still the condition was that it was resulting in a large amount of communication delay. Communication delay was more, the traffic delay was more, traffic load was more, and because of this, it was not that much useful. So our entire research work, we have divided into 3 phases: phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3. In phase 1, we have developed and designed a hybrid sync repositioning technique for data gathering in wireless sensor network. In phase 2, we have extended our research work further by providing a power efficient scheduling algorithm, and during the data gathering process, this communication efficient scheduling protocol is used. And in phase 3, we have developed a localization technique in order to estimate the position of the sensors, wherein we have employed a particle swarm optimization. So here I would like to mention.
Why is the positioning important? Why
so positioning, positioning basically, localization basically means discovering a spatial relationship between the objects, and you are developing a wireless sensor network. So your sensors, you have things that are moving. So for certain applications like surveillance, military and all, so you need to know the precise location of the. And sir, here I would like to mention that all these techniques I have developed. I am not using anybody else's technique. Only for the first one, for getting the result, I have compared with the existing technique. All these techniques I have developed. So we'll move on.
There are other power efficient algorithms.
Yeah.
You can sound cues.
Yeah. The drawbacks I am mentioning, sir. What are the drawbacks? And how my technique is improving over those drawbacks. Okay. Moving on to the phase 1. Now, using a mobile sync for a data gathering purpose has a drawback of buffer overflow problem. That is, the sync has to visit each and every sensor before its buffer overflows. And obviously, this would depend upon the speed of the mobile sync. Now, setting up an optimum speed of the mobile sync is again very difficult, because each and every sensor, they are having different buffer sizes and data generation rate. And moreover, the residual energy of the sensors must also be considered, because a sensor having low residual energy would deplete its energy even much before the mobile sync visits it. So, keeping this point in mind, we have designed and developed our hybrid sync repositioning technique, and for designing our technique, we have worked on the following aspects. First of all is the HSRT model, then we have done the sensor node classification, then we have worked on the formation and selection of the relay sensors, and finally we have proposed a mobile sync deployment algorithm. So the very first step is to frame the network model for our proposed HSRT. Now, in our technique, we have deployed a single static sink which is collecting the data from the urgent sensor, and we have deployed multiple mobile sinks which are collecting the data from the non-urgent sensors. Now, we have considered a two-tier network in a sensing field V, where N is a static sink, V is equal to V1, V2, Vk is a set of the non-urgent sensors, S is equal to S1, S2, Sn is a set of the urgent sensors, R is equal to R1, R2, Re is the set of the relay sensors. Now S and R they are randomly deployed in the network such that S is densely deployed and R is sparsely deployed, and data is collected by the joint cooperation of S and R. Now R is connected to N in the higher tier network, otherwise it is unconnected. Now after this we have done the categorization or the classification of the sensors. We have classified the sensors into two categories as urgent sensors and non-urgent sensor. A sensor is treated as urgent sensor if it satisfies the condition REI less than RETH and GRI greater than GRTH. And a sensor is treated as a non-urgent sensor if it satisfies the condition REI greater than RETH and GRI less than GRTH. Here,
quantities REI.
Yeah. So REI.
RE is GR.
So REI is the residual energy of the sensors and GRI is the data generation rate of the sensors, and RETH is the minimum threshold value of the residual energy and GRTH is the maximum threshold value of the data generation rate. So sir, in simple words we can say in this manner that a sensor is treated as an urgent sensor if it has a low residual energy and high data generation rate, and a sensor is treated as non-urgent sensor if it is having high residual energy and low data generation rate. Now after this we have worked on the formation and selection of the relay sensors. Now here the main aim is to utilize
who decides the thresholds?
Sir, the user. Am I audible? So I'll remove this. This is not. So threshold, normally suppose if I assign a value of suppose initial energy of 10.1 joules, okay, for my each and every sensor. So beta I will take as half of threshold value. For selecting the threshold value, I will take it as half of my initial energy of the sensors. When the sensor has depleted
what is
half
the
of
difference between energy level and the residual energy?
So energy level is the level of the energy. Residual energy, when the sensors have started working, means they have transmitted certain amount of data, and after transmission how much energy is remaining, that would be the residual energy.
It is always the residual energy.
Residual energy. And only just at the beginning of the simulation we need to assign a certain value. So after this we have moved on to step number 3, where we are working on the formation and selection of the set of the relay sensors. Here basically the main aim is to utilize the resources of the highly efficient relay sensors in order to relay the sensory data from the urgent sensors to the static sink N. For this we have formed a set MRSI, where MRSI is a set of the primary relay nodes which are nearest connected relay nodes to SI belonging to S. Now S will forward its data to MRSI in the lower tier network, and then MRSI will forward this data to the static sink in the higher tier network. After this we have formed another set, that is H of Mi, where H of Mi is equal to Sj such that MRSj is equal to Mi. Now this set H of Mi is basically the set of all those urgent sensors which are served by Mi, and this Mi will cover all the set of the relay nodes Mr, Sj for different urgent sensors Sj in different groups or cells. After this we have proposed a local information based mobile sink deployment algorithm, wherein basically this algorithm we have developed in order to collect the data from the non-urgent sensors. Now the mobile sink will periodically collect the data from the sensors. Now except the neighboring sensor, the mobile sink does not have any information of the other sensors in the network, though it may know how many routes are passing through this through it. Now the mobile sink will first of all identify the location of those non-urgent sensors which are communicating directly with it, and the location of the other mobile sink by using the locally available information. Now suppose given an initial mobile sink algorithm. So the mobile sync will first of all identify which non-urgent sensors are communicating directly with it. So the mobile sync will, after this, the mobile sync will note down the IDs of such sensors, and a set Qj is created where Qj is equal to I equal to Di of j is less than TDTH I belongs to V. Now this set Qj is a set of those non-urgent sensors which are directly communicating with the mobile sync J, and also the distance between these sensors and the mobile sync J is less than a particular threshold value of the transmission distance. Now after this, the mobile sync will wait for a certain period of time during which it receives at least one message from these sensors. Now the header of this message will contain the IDs of the other sensors which are sending their message to this non-urgent sensor. The mobile sync will note down the IDs of those sensors, okay, and at the end the mobile sync is able to identify how many other distant sensors are sending their message to these non-urgent sensors. Now after this, we need to minimize the average distance between these distant sensors and the mobile sync J. For that, we have considered a set Zk, where Zk is equal to hash I is to k is equal to Di of k is less than TDTH, k belongs to root Ik. Now this Zk is a set of the number of the IDs of those distant sensors which are sending their message to the non-urgent sensors k, and also the distance between these distant sensors and the non-urgent sensor k is less than a particular threshold value of the transmission distance. Now once the mobile sync J has identified that there are Zk sensors in the direction of sensor k, we need to find out the location of the mobile sync. Now for finding out the location of the mobile sync, we have made use of a resultant vector, and the resultant vector we have approximated as RVJ is equal to summation UKJ ZK, k belongs to QJ upon summation ZK. Now if the magnitude of this RVJ is below a particular threshold, then the mobile sync won't move, and if it exceeds this threshold value, then the mobile sync will move to a new location, and this new location would be RVJ into ST max. Now this ST max is the maximum possible step for the sync. Now the method will return to the second step, and the iteration will continue if there is any sync that is moving, and if all the sync they have stopped their movement, then the mobile sync deployment algorithm ends. Now moving on to phase 2. Now we are aware of that the sensors, they will periodically produce the data by monitoring their vicinity. So the basic operation of any wireless sensor network is systematic data gathering and transmission of this sense data to the sync. So obviously wireless transmission is a main consumption of battery power, and therefore the sensors, they must minimize the communication activities through local collaboration among the sensors. And also the protocols which are running on the sensor network, it must ensure that, or rather the protocols, they should utilize the resources of the sensors efficiently in order to achieve longer network lifetime elongation and efficiency. And because of all this reason, there is an urgent need to develop the power efficient methods for data gathering purpose, which would try to balance the power consumption per sensor, and also near optimal data gathering and routing scheme can be achieved in terms of network lifetime and efficiency. Now basically a key challenging issue in case of wireless sensor network is to schedule the activities of the sensors. And for this purpose, we have developed a power efficient scheduling algorithm, and this algorithm which is of phase 2, it will try to minimize the state transition and reduce the energy cost or the energy consumption. Now whatever the traditional scheduling strategies were suggested, they used to schedule the individual activities of the sensors one by one, assuming that the sensor will schedule in a random order. Each sensor will find out the best time slot for transmitting its data, and also the best time slot for receiving its data without causing interference to the already scheduled sensor. This method was referred to as schedule by random. But the drawback of this method was that it was failing to reduce the energy cost, because each and every sensor, they need to wake up multiple number of times in a scheduling period T. Okay, so in order to overcome this problem, we are proposing a TDMA based scheduling algorithm which schedules the activities of a subset of a sensor into one bundle with consecutive time slot at different radio states, thereby reducing the state transition and hence the energy consumption. So in our technique,
what we have done, first of all, we have formed a set CT of SI, where CT of SI is a set of all the children nodes of sensor SI. Now this CT of SI, it constitutes a virtual group GI. Then for each group GI, we have calculated the load. Load, you can refer the word weight also. We have calculated the load or the weight, and the formula used for this is Li is equal to summation Cj belongs to CT of SI till n Lj. Now this Li is the total number of time slot during which the sensor needs to wake up in order to receive the data from its children. Now, instead of scheduling the transmitting time slot for each individual child, we are providing a chunk of the consecutive time slot to the group Li. Then each child is Cj is assigned a Lj consecutive time slot from this chunk. So all the children, they will send the data in this period and the parent will receive the data at the same time. So what is happening? The child need not waste their energy in waiting and the parent need not waste their energy in waking. So obviously the state transition, the energy consumption due to state transition is definitely saved, because each and every sensor, they need to wake up only twice. Once for receiving the data from their children and once for sending their own data to their own parent. Now our scheduling strategy, it takes care of the conflicting groups also. Now there are two groups, suppose GI and GK, and these group GI and GK are said to be conflicting with each other if there exists two sensors, sensor U and sensor V, such that U belongs to GI and V belongs to GK, and U and V, they cannot be scheduled simultaneously for transmission. So in such a case, what we have done, we have arranged the groups in the non-increasing order of their weight. Then we have used the first fit approach, wherein a chunk of the time slot scheduled to the sensors in group GI is the earliest available WN time slot that will not conflict with the already scheduled time slot of the conflicting scheduling groups. Then suppose if there exists a scenario such that there is a group G1, G1 comprises of U1 and U2, and there exists another group G2, G2 comprises of U3 and U4. Now all the sensors, they are requiring same amount of weight, that is Wi for scheduling, and moreover suppose U1 and U3, they cannot be scheduled simultaneously for transmission. So in such a case, the following schedule becomes a valid schedule, where U1 uses time slot 1 and 2, U2 uses 3 and 4, U3 will use 3 and 4, and U4 will use 1 and 2. So all the steps that will be following in our scheduling algorithm, we have written here. For each sensor SI2, we need to calculate the receiving load Li, then we need to sort the sensors in the non-increasing order of their load Li. Then for I is equal to 1 to 2, what will be doing? Assign group GI earliest available Li time slot for transmitting that will not overlap with the already scheduled groups or conflicting groups, and then each child Cj in group GI will be sequentially assigned Lj consecutive time slot for transmitting. Now moving on to phase 3, localization basically refers to a mechanism of discovering the spatial relationship between the object. Now the location information is a fundamental requirement in various wireless sensor network application. So basically the accurateness of any localization technique is highly desirable. And hence this localization algorithm, they play a very important and challenging role in today's wireless sensor networks. Now any localization algorithm, it suffers from the 3 drawbacks. First of all, always they increase your hardware cost. Then second, if there are insufficient number of anchor nodes, then localization, it becomes very difficult and inestimable, and this would result in a reduction in your localization accuracy, and moreover the iterative process, it results in the error accumulation. So in order to overcome this problem, we have proposed a PSO-based localization technique for mobile elements using expected hop progress in order to estimate the accurate location. Then EHP matrix, that is the expected hop progress matrix, will estimate the distance between any pair of sensors that are within the same transmission range in the sparsely deployed network. Then the mobile element, it will broadcast its hop count value, transmission radius and current position, and then the PSO is employed. PSO, particle swarm optimization, is employed for estimating the location using this information. Now the distance between any pair of sensors is calculated as D is equal to H into E of H. Now H is the hop count value and E of H is the expected hop progress metric. Then our proposed localization algorithm. The steps I have written here in the form of an algorithm. Listen and collect anchor information. If 3 anchors are discovered, then call procedure localization. Then in procedure localization, calculate the expected hop progress metric. Then estimate the distance and location. Employ PSO, update the information. Then broadcast the location information along with the transmission radius and updated position. Then localization is complete, and finally you exit from the.
This is happening in the sync.
Yes, localization we have employed sir to the mobile sync. Now for the implementation purpose, we have considered the NS 2.32 environment, wherein we have considered a bounded region of 500 by 500 square meters, and we have placed the nodes or the sensors using uniform distribution. Now the various simulation parameters which we have used in our simulation model are specified in this table. Area size which we have used is 500 by 500 square meter. MAC is 802.11. Traffic source is CBR. Routing protocol is AODV. The simulation time that we have assigned is 50 seconds. Packet size we have taken as 500 bits. Initial energy that we have assigned is 10.1 joules. Ideal power we have assigned as 0.035 watts, and transmit power, likewise the transmit power and receiving power we have assigned as 0.660 watts, 0.395 watts, and then we have went on varying the number of sensors from 20, 40, 60, 80 and 100, as well as we have varied the rate as 50, 100, 150, 200 and 250. Now first of all, we have written the TCL script for all our proposed technique by giving the command ns-filename.tcl. Then the NAM file can be directly executed from the TCL script by giving the command nam out.nam, and we are able to observe the NAM output, which will give us the network visualization. So this is my NAM output, which is giving the visualization of my network. So here you can see that the red color is a single static sync that I have deployed. The blue color are my multiple mobile sync, and the green color are different sensors. Now after the running the simulation, my mobile sync should relocate in order to collect the data from these sensors. So after running the simulation, you observe that the mobile sync has relocated to a new location in order to collect the data from the sensors. Now,
is it the mobile sync which is relocating, or you are selecting another sync?
No, sir.
How does the mobile node relocate?
So basically, when I talk in terms, when I talk in terms of mobile sync, basically this mobile syncs are nothing but your AUVs, or maybe a robot, or maybe a portable computer which is mounted on a backpack of a rescue queue. So they will be moving, sir. In order to gather, there are some risky environments where human cannot access or go there. So in that scenario, you can use this. Then we have increased the number of sensors. Again, you can see that red is a static sync, my blue color are the mobile sync. Then after running the simulation, my mobile sync has relocated to a, in order to collect the data from the sensors. Now for tracing and monitoring our simulation, we will run a trace file which we have already set in the TCL script by giving the command out.tr, and I will get my trace value. Now for analyzing the trace value, I'll make use of a trace data analyzer, which is the XGraph. The XGraph is called within the OTCL script by giving the command execute XGraph out.tr geometry, and this XGraph will visually display the information of the trace value which I have obtained from my simulation. Now, I have developed all the 3 techniques. It was a trial and error method, sir, because we are not sure of whether what will be landing in.
It's very complex.
Yes, yes. So, you need to evaluate the performance of whatever techniques you are developing. So, in order to evaluate the performance of all the techniques that I have developed, I have considered 4 parameters. One is the average energy consumption, the other one is the packet delivery ratio, the other one is the end-to-end delay, and average drop. So based on these 4 performance metrics, I have evaluated the performance of my techniques, proposed techniques. So these are my values which I have obtained from my simulation. Energy, delay, as I said 4, I have dealt with 4, energy, delay, drop and delivery ratio. Okay. Now in the next table you can see that various algorithms I have written. MBPS, sir, is an existing algorithm. MBPSP, that is a mobile base station placement scheme. HSRT is a technique which I have developed, that is hybrid sync repositioning technique. Then HSRT-PES, that is a power efficient scheduling algorithm, that is phase 2, where I have developed a power efficient scheduling algorithm. Then this MEACL is an existing algorithm, sir. This is again a localization algorithm which has been developed, that is mobile element associated cooperative localization scheme. And PLEH, which is my particle swarm optimization based localization technique using expected hop, that I have compared with this existing technique, that is MEACL. Okay, and here by varying the number of sensors, that is 20, 40, 60, 80 and 100, whatever values I have got, that I have written here in the form of the table. So again, for drop and delivery ratio for the various algorithms and my technique which I have developed, what are the values that I am getting?
Your PLEH may not converge in certain situations. What do you do in that?
So basically, while
it will take a long time to converge.
Yeah.
You are
Normally-
anyway depleting a lot of energy.
So basically, what my observation was, it was taking around 20 iterations in order to converge.
Maybe the situations were such,
Huh.
but it may not. You don't know how much time.
Time it will take. Yes. So this I'll note down. I'll try over this.
Do that.
Then again the 4 parameters, that is energy, delay, drop, delivery ratio. Now this time again the same algorithms, okay, and then now this time we have not varied the number of sensors, we have varied the rates from 50, 100, 150, 200 and 250. Whatever values I have got, that I have written here in the form of table. Then these are my X graphs which I have plotted for all the 4 parameters by varying number of sensors and by varying the data sending rates. So as we see in the first graph, that is the energy versus number of sensor, you find that the energy consumption has been minimized from MBSP to PLEH. So we can say that a significant amount of energy saving has been achieved. Moving on to the next performance matrix, from delay to number of sensors. Through those values, when the graph is plotted, you find that from MBSP to PLEH, the delay has been minimized. For drop, we observe versus number of sensor, you find that from MBSP to PLEH, the drop has been minimized. Then delivery ratio needs to improve. So from the down one is for MBSP, the top one which I have got is for PLEH, so delivery ratio has improved. Then likewise, energy versus rate, you will observe it has reduced significantly, the delay has been minimized, the drop has been minimized, and the delivery ratio has improved. And then when you try to plot it in, you talk in terms of percentage improvement. This is a chart wherein for different performance matrix, for different algorithm, by varying the number of sensors, by varying the different rates, what is the percentage improvement by calculating the mu values has been specified here. Then those percentage improvement I have plotted in terms of bar chart. So these are the graphs which show the percentage improvement, energy, delay, drop, delivery ratio by varying the number of sensors, then by varying the number of data, by varying the data sending rate. And finally, the conclusion, we conclude that the hybrid sync repositioning technique which we have developed can be efficiently used for any data gathering, for the purpose of any data gathering in case of wireless sensor network. It is trying to avoid the energy hole problem and the buffer overflow problem. In the second step, we have worked on the power efficient scheduling algorithm. This algorithm is reducing your state transition and the energy cost or the energy consumption. And finally, the localization algorithm, it is giving you the accurate location of the sensors. Now, regarding my publications, till now 5 papers I have published in international journals. One paper is recently accepted in the InterScience journal, and the entire...
Previous slide?
Yes.
A minute.
And so recently one paper has been accepted in InterScience Journal, and my entire work, whatever I have done, I have submitted in Springer Journal, which is under review right now. And so in international conferences, I have I have presented the paper in 4 international conferences. Out of these 2 conferences were IEEE, and my 2 papers are available in IEEE Digital Explorer also. And I have received certain awards also. I received the Best Paper Award at IEEE International Conference, which was held in Andhra Pradesh, and Best PhD work in IECTET. And so these are my references. Thank you.
So you want to ask the audience to ask anything?
Ma'am, everything what you have done, that was a simulation part,
Yes,
or simulation was done, everything.
Yeah.
Any practical results, or have you tried it, means to implement
So
it practically?
right now these are basically your future generation networks. In India, nobody is using this. If you want to implement this practically, I was watching a Discovery Channel. There the same type of technique they have implemented in agriculture field in order to run the flies off. Wherever in India there is no such problem, we have a very huge population. In a very country where the population is very less, where the human access is not possible, so they had implemented this mobile sync practically. Right now, currently this technique is not implemented anywhere in India. It's not possible, sir. Whatever the research work is going on in this field is simulation based only. You require a huge amount of funds. We don't have such funds here.
But you could have taken some practical example, means by taking a small module and on that
Sir,
small
I
module-
could have done that. You're correct, sir. I could have done that whenever I'm dealing with static sync. Static sync. For moving my mobile sync, for relocating my mobile sync, I require a robot. I require an unmanned automatic vehicle. That I can't get it.
You could still simulate.
Yeah, that I will try. I will try.
That is what he's saying.
The
I'll
second
try.
thing is, if you are considering mobile sync, then you don't thought of other practical issues which are related by using those mobile syncs.
So mobile sync right now, they
There
are
certain
using.
environmental factors which will.
Sir, basically, this type of application can be used for the military purpose also. In America, they have mounted rovers are there, sir. The rovers they are treating it as a moving sync, and rovers can move and handle any environmental condition, whether there is a plateau, whether there is a sand, soil is moist. So rovers can work as a mobile sync
The
in
robots
harsh
require so
environment.
much of energy. And you have an energy conscious network. How will you employ robots if they require so much of energy?
So basically, the thing is nowadays energy. One thing is clear that whenever this sensors they are deployed in the network, so they remain unattended. You cannot go and attend them.
That's
so
right. That's right.
recently, sir, what they have done, they have employed, I suppose, solar panels on them. So during daytime, they catch the energy from the solar.
Well, they cannot be moving. Solar panels are so heavy. They cannot be ad hoc network. It has to be a fixed network. Well, there are so many problems.
Yeah, problems will be there, sir, in each and every research.
Suppose one of your node dies.
Huh?
What happens?
Sir, we are not allowing the node to die. As soon as their energy is reaching half, we are taking care of.
Now tell me, can I ask? Have you want to ask more questions? Whoever was asking, I don't know. You were asking.
Yes, yes.
Okay, you want to ask more questions?
So not this. Otherwise,
Is there anybody else who wants to ask more questions?
I'm taking chance to
Go ahead. He wants to ask something. Which one?
So actually, as ma'am had just said that,
Ask her. not
ma'am,
me.
you have said that whenever the life of a node reaches 50%, you have means you will be taken care of sensor. But as far as my knowledge is concerned, sensors may be deployed in a remote areas where human can't reach so easily. In that case, how you will take care of?
We are doing the programming of this thing.
Means you are controlling from a remote area.
I am not controlling. Whatever this, you have different sensors that are deployed in the network. You have the sinks that are deployed in the network. So the care of the residual energy is taken by the sink. As soon as the sink comes to know that this this sensor is running out of energy, it will take care of that sensor. I am not handling anything.
So in that case, the sink is providing real-time energy to the sensor.
It's not providing energy. It's providing the relay sensors in order to send the sensory data from the. See, one thing I had said that the sensors you are classifying into two types. You have urgent sensors and non-urgent sensors. And for both the sensors, I have set a particular value of the residual energy and the threshold value of the residual energy. So as soon as the sensor is becoming an urgent sensor, it will send a short beacon signal to the static sink. So the static sink will come to know that this sensor is running out of energy. So the static sink will find out the nearest relay sensor which is close to this sensor which is running out of energy. And that particular sensor will forward its sensory data to the static sink by making use of this relay sensor.
But ma'am, how remotely you are going to observe all these things?
I won't observe. I won't observe. I have my sink deployed. I have my sensors deployed. I don't have to do anything.
Okay, means after deploying
Yeah.
things, means you are not taking care of it.
No.
So ma'am, then how the practical difficulties which you are going to face after using this protocol or algorithm which you have mentioned? How we will come to know what are the practical difficulties?
See, basically, if you need to develop a hardware part, you need to start with the simulation. First of all, you need to check whether definitely this algorithm is going to work. Definitely this algorithm is showing some improvement, and till now I have observed that through simulation these techniques are working fine. If you want to practically employ this technique, definitely you can employ, because before implementing any hardware you need to do simulation because they are very costly networks.
So if I plan to employ or deploy this network, and I find that if I let's say tweak the parameters a little, I can get better performance. How will I know? How will I know whether in which direction should I do the tweaking so as to get better performance from my network? How will I know?
Means improvement in the parameters, which I said. So then
we have set some parameters, seen the results. They look like better. But suppose something that improves the performance.
Means a little more, what can be done?
Let's say I code the data before I transmit it. You can do some kind of a coding, or you can do some kind of a rejection of data which is duplicated. Some such thing.
Then you will have to work on security and privacy settings of the data then.
Right. So
then we need to.
So I will not go and deploy this kind of a network straight away. I have to work on so many things. Tell me all those things in which.
So there are many things. As we need to protect the data, then you need to design a security and privacy setting. Some protocol is required. This basically such type of network which I am talking about is for the simple data gathering from a given network.
For a simple data gathering, I will not provide robots. Some other ways of. Maybe I'll take a cluster of networks, average the parameter and send it or some such thing. There can be so many alternatives.
Yeah, there are many alternatives.
So many alternatives. So I probably cannot choose the best alternative. So one has to
N
keep
numbers of
improving.
solutions are there.
So is your network improvable in that sense? That is, tomorrow if I want to change the network in an improved manner, can I do it?
So, then the thing is, if you want to use for military and surveillance application, then
whatever application, it'll have to be different network for different application.
Then, sir, one more protocol we'll have to design, that is privacy settings and authentication of the network needs to be done. which we have not dealt in our scheme.
So what are you? What then are you concluding from your?
The first thing was 3 phases I had considered. So I had talked in terms of the static sync and mobile sync in phase 1. Phase 2 was the scheduling of the network, and phase 3 was the localization of the network. Now in phase 1, as I said earlier, they were using a single sync. Then they started deploying multiple sync. Then they started deploying mobile sync. Now simply deploying a mobile sync for a data gathering purpose,
That mobile sync is normally choice of another sync, you know. A node which is in the denser area, you choose that as a sync rather than providing a robot. That is how it is done normally.
Okay.
Not the way you are talking about.
Okay.
No robots.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
So that is one thing.
Okay.
And there are very complicated algorithms for choosing a sync.
Yeah.
A lot of effort goes into that.
Okay.
Quite a bit of thinking goes into it. You should read something about
Okay, fine.
how to choose a sync and how to put the data, how to discard data which is not relevant. There are so many things that have been done.
Okay, sir.
Right?